$15 million of it is fully guaranteed. And in the NBA, ESPN saying 76ers guard Tyrese Maxey expected to miss 2 weeks with a hamstring injury.
It's time.
You know what time it is?
The game for Tuscaloosa's longest running sports show.
The biggest goal of our team,
especially in the first half,
we at Bama, we're trying to be the best. Always is to win a national championship.
Something cool to look back on.
We don't want to waste a failure.
You're inside the game.
John Mechie on the ground.
Appreciate your interest in the game.
On your home for Alabama sports.
Alabama wins.
Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. And now, here's your award-winning host, Ryan Fowler.
And a big good afternoon to you. Welcome into the game. T-Town Tide at 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. Alabama to LSU. What a big game. 6:49, Baton Rouge Tiger Stadium, better known as Death Valley. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Holly Rowe on the sidelines. This will be that primetime ABC game. We'll have the call right here with Chris Stewart, Tyler Watts, Damian Square, Roger Hoover, and the entire team on our CTSN game day all day, which will be a lot of coverage from Alabama and LSU. Alabama 6-2, 3-2 in the SEC. The Tigers 6-2, 3-1. And Kalen DeBoer in year number 1 goes to Tiger Stadium. I think many of us circled this game, right? It was one of those games I don't think anybody thought that we were going to be able to lose to Vanderbilt. We did, and it kind of put your pressure against the wall. But Alabama 6-2, taking on those Tigers. Alabama's the higher-ranked team. 11, 11, and 11, both the AP, the coaches poll, and the college football playoff rankings. LSU is 15, 14, and 13. So another quality opportunity for Alabama to build that resume. Alabama, LSU meeting for the 89th time. We've talked about it a lot of different times. 29, 10, and 2. Let that sink in. The Tide having the all-time advantage when you look at all the games, 59, 27, and 5. But in Baton Rouge, it's 29, 10, and 2 at Tiger Stadium. Alabama getting the win last year, 42-28. But it's all about that pressure. It's all about that pressure against what now will be Brian Kelly's 4th attempt against the University of Alabama. He's 1-3, but in his 3rd year, one of those coming via Notre Dame. So Alabama got him in 2012. He got Alabama 2 years ago at Tiger Stadium, and I'm sure a lot of the players remember walking off that field, walking off in disappointment. Today, we've got a big show lined up for you. I mean, it is a gigantic show. It is something that we're going to do a little bit. We've got an SEC Parlay Pick Contest that we do every Friday presented by Brian Harden Construction. And we're going to use 2 days to get this in, okay? And one of the reasons why is we got a lot of guests today and a lot of guests tomorrow, okay? I always try to be fair. And it's so funny how I can do a lot of different things. We usually average between 35 and 40 picks on our score prediction day. By the way, nobody won the Alabama bye week. Nobody predicted the correct score. And so that's okay. I mean, certainly a sarcasm there. But we did have a parlay pick winner, and we actually had 2. We will await because the tiebreaker was selected by, I believe, Paul and Lincoln. He's usually one of the first callers. So we will do a parlay pick contest today and tomorrow. So we'll take your SEC Parlay Pick, and we'll talk about keys to victory. What do you think they are against the University of Alabama? That's one of the questions that we're going to throw out there on both the social network, Facebook side of things. Find me there. What are the keys to victory for Alabama against LSU? What are the keys to victory? Listen, I think it's very simple. I think you go down, you play Jalen Milroe to a level that he's able to play with it himself, right? Don't put too much on him, but put enough that he shows some of that flexibility. And you look back at the bye week. I think Kalen DeBoer has got a pretty good record coming off the bye week. This is a bye week. How much time have they spent preparing for that mobile quarterback when you look at it from an LSU perspective? And will Alabama be able to take advantage of some of those down-the-field throws? That's one of the things that we'll dive into. I've got Kalen DeBoer audio clip. We're going to have some fun. Remember to check out Tide109.com. There's a lot of written content there as we get ready for Alabama and LSU. And we'll do it today, and we'll run through some of those parlay picks. We'll give you the opportunity to jump in. You can do them today, or you can wait and do them tomorrow. Tomorrow's just going to be a little bit of a chance because it is the LSU game. I do think that inside that locker room, it is one of the biggest rivalries on their mind. Now, I know that from a fan perspective, it will always be Auburn. And I don't know if Nick Saban retiring, because in a lot of ways they were defending Nick Saban. That's why that rivalry became so big, right? It's LSU, Alabama. It's defending Nick Saban because of so much dislike in that stadium for him, leaving them, going to the National Football League, and then coming back. So I don't know if that rivalry will take a little bit of a dip or if it will stay the same because of maybe, Nick Saban still being affiliated. Like I said, I don't know if this rivalry will maintain the same intensity. But I think when you look at it from an LSU-Alabama perspective, you almost think that this is the pathway to the college football playoffs. I don't think these teams are going anywhere. When you look at LSU, Brian Kelly, now I've got egg on my face because I thought he would win a national title in his first 5 years. I thought he would do that. I mean, the talent around that program, but the parameters of college football has changed, and I don't know if I'm going to be accurate on that prediction of winning a national title 1 in 5 years. Matt Moscano is going to join us coming up in just a couple of minutes. We're going to have a chance to feature him. We're also going to have a chance to feature Josh from College Football Nerds. We'll talk to Bruce Marshall. We'll have a chance to talk with him coming up at 3:30, and then Brad Powers at 4. So we're going to have a lot of time to get in some of these parlay picks. And like I said, we had 2 people that hit it, but we're going to wait for the official results on the tiebreaker before, even though there's going to be some additions, there's not going to be any subtractions. We'll see exactly who's going to be the closest, and I will award that. We got to count some votes out there because you guys chose to go the electoral route. And, hey, they had some pretty strong predictions. But like I said, there's still a couple of states that are I think there's actually just one state, right, that is still trying to make a decision. So currently with 295, and Arizona's not been called officially by some. So you've got Arizona, Nevada, Alaska has been called. So, but it's only, it's a big number out there. So currently at 295. So if you pick 295, it's going to go up. It's going to go up. It's going to go up in the 300s, and then that'll be the tiebreaker. So we'll let the first caller out of the gate select the tiebreaker. We'll have a chance to dive into a lot of different things. Matt Moscano coming up in just a couple of minutes. Let's go back to a Kalen DeBoer audio clip, and then we'll go to Matt Moscano, ESPN 104.5 in Baton Rouge. We go back to Kalen DeBoer talking about pressure of this game and the magnitude of this game, understanding that this is a playoff elimination game. You lose this, and you're not going to the college football playoffs. Highly unlikely. This is Kalen DeBoer explaining some of the reasoning behind the pressure that's on the Alabama Crimson Tide.
You saw our response, I think, with the Missouri game, because really, that was the case there. And I say that, and then all of a sudden you start thinking, well, why wasn't that the case when we went to Tennessee? Well, it was. It's just more experiences that you have together. The backs of the wall. There's different things that different teams respond well to, and at least for the first test, and Missouri was at home. We got off to a fast start defensively. Did a nice job there and just continued to apply pressure, I think, offensively. And once we got the field position in our favor, we kind of cracked through. But for us, it's just always going back to really the process and, the work that needs to be put in, the areas we needed to continue to improve on. And the guys, I use the word intentional a lot, whether it's here, whether it's with our team. We have to be intentional, and we got to bring that energy in order to really continue to improve, and they're doing that. And they want to make something big of this season, and it's supported through the action that you see on the practice field. You see it in just the way they're going about their business off the field. Just the details that really continue to hone in on. And it's just a matter of time, right? As the season goes on, you become more comfortable with what we're doing, whether it's our scheme or just the routine or, each other. And, a lot of our youth is rising up and continuing to gain more and more confidence, mixed in with the veterans that, continue to bring great leadership. So I like where we're at. Unfortunately, like you said, we have less wiggle room. And our backs are to the wall, and so we're going to fight each and every day, bite, scratch, and claw, like you've never seen, and that continues on this week.
Wow. All right. To me, that's my favorite clip. I know that it's just there's so much meat and potatoes in that. I mean, it's just one of those that when you step back a couple of minutes and you hear Kalen DeBoer describing that pressure, that's one of the things that I think that we're going to dive into today. We're going to talk about that pressure. We're going to talk about keys to victory. We're going to take your phone calls. We'll do our parlay pick contest. We're due both days, so don't be stressed. Well, I haven't come up with my predictions. Okay, well, that's okay. Tomorrow's the day. Like I said, the goal is always to average. On the parlay picks, generally we get between 20 and 25 predictions in. Today, tomorrow, I hope I can get that number. Like I said, we're going to be a little bit guest heavy. ESPN 104.5 broke the story that a live Tiger will be on the sideline for LSU Alabama game. That famous mascot is coming back to Tiger Stadium. Matt Moscona explains that their station broke that story earlier today. A live Tiger will be on the sidelines for LSU Alabama. Hey, we welcome you right back into the game. Tuscaloosa Tide, 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We're about to go to the afternoon drive host down in Baton Rouge. ESPN 104.5 broke the story early today. A live Tiger will be on the sidelines. I've heard so many players over the course of time because Alabama LSU comes up quite often. And I always think about Coach Stallings and his first trip to Baton Rouge. He said he walked out of the locker room and they had the Tiger right there. And he said, it'll intimidate you. It'll get your mind off football because of this live Tiger. And I think I was reading some of the comments that they usually put a steak out there or ribeye or I'd hate to feed that guy, man, because I'm sure that's probably expensive. But, hey, LSU's got plenty of money. Let's go to Matt Moscona, ESPN 104.5 in Baton Rouge. Matt, I hope you're doing well. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
Ryan, man, you started off with neck. Dude, I thought you were about to get an FCC fine. What a way to kick off Bama week, huh?
Oh, now, does the FCC, are they still in business? I mean, because, this season has been a little frustrating. We probably had more cuss words fly this year than we've had in a lot of years.
Probably since 2006, I would imagine. Maybe that ULM loss in 2007.
So let's talk about Tiger Stadium. When you look at it, how would you describe the venue to someone who has never been, and they're going in Tiger Stadium for the first time under the lights? How would you describe that venue?
I always tell people this: Tiger Stadium. Look, if you go when LSU's playing, 2:30 this year against UCLA was a dud. You go when they're playing McNeese, it ain't gonna feel like what people build it up to. It's like any other place, right? I mean, you have these giant stadiums and games a lot of times people don't want to see. But when you get a big-time opponent in a night game and Tigers are playing for something meaningful, I will always say it is the best big game experience in this sport that we all love, and I'd put it up there against any sport in the world. When you're talking about a big game, and someone asked me earlier today, man, why and how it's gotten that reputation. I think part of the reputation is earned just over many years of decades of playing night games and having good teams that win a lot of those night games. And a lot of it's, you got a sauced-up crowd, occasions that like to have a good time. But, I think the other part of it too, Ryan, is whenever that reputation has been built for so many years, I think whenever there's a game like what we're going to see Saturday night, I think the fans that go in there feel like they have a standard to uphold. Like they know the nation's watching and they have to make Tiger Stadium be the thing that its reputation precedes. So I think that's part of the reason why it's been what it's been. It's been really tough for a lot of teams to go there and win over the years.
Do you believe that there's a bias from the SEC to give LSU evening games in Tiger Stadium?
Well, I think it's important to remember that the networks pick what time the kickoff is. So I think the networks care about ratings. And LSU and Alabama for the last, certainly since 2011, right, Ryan? That game did 20 million views, that game of the century back in Tuscaloosa. That was a night game in Tuscaloosa. I think the networks are very smart. They know what they want. Lane Kiffin complained about it. But, Ryan, what I've told people that have asked me is, brother, Ole Miss lost to LSU. Georgia lost to Alabama. You want a home game at night? Don't lose at home to Kentucky. Make it meaningful. And if they were playing in more meaningful games and they were better, then they'd have those opportunities. But, there's another component of it where I think the league does try to influence. I'll tell you, Ryan, this is one thing that did happen. Back in, LSU kind of fought for years against that whole Friday after Thanksgiving thing against Arkansas. And when the schedule changed, of course, the league bent over backwards to maintain Alabama, Tennessee, and Auburn, Georgia. And the thing that LSU went to the league office and said is, all right, fine. You want to give these schools their tradition. Ours is we play night games. And so I think there is maybe where there can be influence to give LSU night games that happens, like if it's an either or thing. But in a situation like this, man, this is the network picking the best game. They absolutely did the right thing. Game days here, it's LSU, Alabama. It's going to be massive.
No, it will be. And I love the atmosphere there. And Alabama fans, they get mad at me when I say this. Bryant-Denny Stadium has improved, okay? It has significantly took a step in the right direction. But Tiger Stadium, and I always tell this story, Cam Robinson gets arrested in the offseason. And the first year that he's back, we go to Baton Rouge, and we're sitting there, and these fans are yelling. We're going to take our running back. We're going to run up your butt. And I walked over to the student section. I said, hey, guys, he plays offense. He plays tackle, not defense. It was like they never even acknowledged me. They just switched and went to our edge rusher is going to. It was like it was so. I wish I could have recorded it in time because I think they thought he was a defensive tackle or something, and then all of a sudden it was like beautiful. It was in sync. I love the crowd is so close right there. It is, when you're warming up, there's not, 2 yards between the crowd and where the players warm up. The intimidation of that is pretty awesome.
Yeah, but if you're sitting behind one of the benches really low, you don't see nothing. You watch the whole game on the video board because the seats, you're right, the seats aren't, for those, if you've never been, the lower level seats aren't elevated. So if you're in the first row, like your feet are touching concrete level with the field. So not cool vantage point to be that close, but not exactly the best way to watch the game.
Tiger, why is the Tiger coming back? Was there something that happened that allowed, was it a liability? Help me. Oh, no. I'm sorry. I must have opened up a big
No. We broke this story. So I got word of this. I got word of this yesterday. And so we did a lot of due diligence. So there's a new governor was just elected in this most recent term. And not this week. I guess this would have been in the last fall election. And so Jeff Landry, the new governor, wanted to bring back this tradition. And for all the reasons that everybody can imagine, professors and academic types have pushed at LSU have pushed against bringing the live tiger into the stadium, all that stuff. Well, the governors wanted this. He's obviously the governor of the state. He runs the board of supervisors. Ultimately, they work at his will. And so he wanted to bring the live tiger back. There were real concerns because the current Mike the Tiger, Mike the Seventh, is 8 years old. He's never been in that cage. He's lived his life as LSU's live mascot. And so what they did was they went and found a tiger at one of those, wildlife refuge camps. And somehow they got a deal done to bring the tiger here for the game. So I was told that the tiger's name is Omar. So it won't be Mike. It'll be Omar the tiger taking a lap around the field in Tiger Stadium before the game. But I think there's mixed feelings. I think a lot of people love the tradition, would love to see it come back. It is a bit odd how it's coming back, however.
Okay. So do you think it'll be outside the visitors' locker room? Because even Coach Stallings from the 90s.
That's what they would always do, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tiger would take the lap around, and then they'd park the cage right there by the visitors' locker room when the teams ran out. Now, in recent years, though, Ryan, it did become more that they would take the tiger out of the stadium before the teams came onto the field. So when Coach Stallings was there, yes, that was very much the tradition. And then they'd prod the tiger to make it growl. They stopped that practice because obviously that was a little inhumane. But what they would start to do is the costumed mascot, the costume mic, would trigger the tiger. So they'd have the costume. This is what happened when I was in school. The costume mic would walk up, and they'd have a microphone right there. Mike would the live tiger would roar, and people would go crazy. But it's admittedly a very odd thing to be talking about, and the way that they're going to do it. But the governor wanted to do it, so here we are.
Matt also hosts the afternoon drive, PM drive host on ESPN 104.5 that broke that story. Check out their YouTube account that has absolutely exploded, Whiskey and Wine. Is that the most popular post-game show in the country? It's got to be up there. It's awesome. I mean, I watch it. I watch it when you guys lose. I don't like to watch it when you guys win. I mean, I'm going to be honest with that.
It's a different vibe either way. But yeah, man, it's a little bizarre how much that's taken off. The whole concept of that show was if you were sitting at a cigar bar after the game talking to your buddies about the game, what would that conversation sound like? Okay, well, now let's put that on YouTube. So it's unfiltered, it's unscripted, it's unhinged, it's T-Bob with every chemical you can imagine in his body. It's something. It makes me nervous every time we do it, Ryan, because I'm always afraid something's going to get said that you can never take back. But, I always say it now at this point, like, we've done this show for 8 years, I think now. Like, what you're walking into. If you're offended by it, it's your fault because you know what you're coming into when you watch that show by now. You know what it is. So, but yes, it's incredible, the audience.
I think it was out in Vegas where Russ Mitchell was a part of that. We'll have Russ on tomorrow. I know that you and I. And I'm just looking at Russ and his eyes. See, you're not able to see this because you're looking at the camera. But just watching Russ, it was that part. If you could just zoom into Russ and nothing else, it would tell the story because those eyes were just going, yeah. What am I part of? What am I part of? And I mean, listen, Russ is one of the best guests you guys have. I think you're the one that connected me with Russ. But it's just, like I said, I mean, what a great job. And I know you give Alabama a lot of compliments on that show. I hear those often.
Yeah. Now, we going to talk about Bama burning or what? What are we doing here, Ryan? I mean, you had me on the phone now for 10 minutes. You ain't brought this up once. What are we doing? I know what you want to talk about.
I'm going there. All
you're doing is you're teasing your audience.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I want to keep my TSL going. Time spent listening, trying to dial this in.
I know what TSL is.
Well, I don't know if the audience did. So that's where I was trying to give them TSL. That's a metric that we use in sports talk or any kind of radio ratings to keep your audience in dialed. It's not just about listening. It's time spent listening, which sports talk radio is pretty popular. All right. So when you look at Alabama, obviously we had a great conversation back in Dallas at the SEC Media Days, and you said that Alabama was going to regress to the mean, that they were coming back to the fold. Certainly that's been a lot of truth in that. I think there's a lot of different reasons why, and that's where you and I may disagree a little bit. I just think this is the new college football. I think if Nick Saban was here, you're probably not going to lose to Vanderbilt, but I think when you look at college football, this is the new college football. There's not going to be any dominant runs. So I think we're maybe looking at Kalen DeBoer in year number one. Yes, some of this has been on him, the new system, but I think this is where we're going in college football. And I've tried to tell Alabama fans, they're not accepting it. They want a national title every year, and that's just not realistic.
No, I agree with that, but it would be more realistic if you had the greatest coach of all time. And if Nick Saban were there right now, you absolutely are not. You agree that, right? If Nick Saban is the coach, you're beating Vanderbilt.
Absolutely. Yes. It's not even a question.
Absolutely. I think you're beating Tennessee as well. If Nick Saban is still there, you still have Caleb Downs on the team. You still have Isaiah Bond and Amara Niblack. And we can go down the list of all the players that left after Nick left. And that's all that everything I said, Ryan, was rooted in. You don't get to lose the greatest coach ever. And 40 players when you consider graduation, draft, and then portal. You don't turn over half your roster to lose the greatest coach ever and just maintain. You're going to regress. But the point I've always made is Bama's still going to be very good. They got good players. I think Kalen DeBoer is a really good coach. You're just not going to be the most dominant team that you've been for 17 years. And that's what's going to be hard for Alabama fans to stomach, Ryan, because you're not going to win a championship this year, and that's going to be 4 years, and you're not going to win it next year, and that's going to be 5. And then how much longer do you go before you really start getting antsy and cranking up the intensity on a coach? And that's going to be the really tricky thing that Alabama is going to have to navigate. Now, we will disagree on DeBoer. I think he's a good coach, but I think there is tons of evidence that suggests he's not a great coach.
Like what?
The blown 28-point lead against Georgia. People want to talk about building the lead. Nobody wants to talk about blowing a 28-point lead. We could look back at the Sugar Bowl last year in the college football playoff, where it took gross incompetence and clock mismanagement at the end of that game, which is why Washington had to sweat out a pass into the end zone from Texas that would have won it, and they would have had a massive blown lead there. They blew a 2-score lead against Oregon on their home field. They blew a 2-score lead against Oregon in the conference championship game, and Michael Penix rescued them in those games. They survived a field goal at the end of the game to get past a lowly Washington State team last year. They've had a lot of close calls. And when you've been accustomed to dominance, which is what Alabama has been, Kalen DeBoer is not that coach. He's won a lot, and I think he'll win a lot at Alabama. But he's not going to win at the level that Alabama fans are accustomed to. And that is going to be the hardest thing for people there, with the expectation that you rightly have, which has been bred and reinforced for 17 years. And for older Alabama fans, even further back, it is an unrealistic standard. Kalen DeBoer can't meet it. Nobody can meet it. And that's where you're going to have that clash and that contention within the program.
All right, but is it also fair to say that the program was regressing under Coach Saban the last 2 or 3 years?
If your standard is you want to win a national championship every year, fine. I would also say Alabama last year was in the college football playoff with a team that I certainly don't think was one of the 4 best teams in the country. And you had Michigan, the eventual national champion, in overtime. Ryan, you're illustrating exactly the point that I've been talking about. You were in the playoff in overtime against the team that won the national championship. Like, if that is a regression, then what you're looking at right now, giving up 40 points and losing to Vanderbilt, must feel like rock bottom. And there's more of that to come, dog. That's the thing. And listen, every time I have this conversation with Alabama fans, they always want to say to me, but LSU. It's not about LSU. I know what LSU is. LSU is a really good football program that has struggled to maintain consistency. And about once every half decade, they pop a really good season. They win a championship in 03, 07, play for one in 11, as we all know, win another one in 19. You know what I mean? Like, the in-between has been the tough part. Got a lot of 8-win seasons in there, and generally that's what you are, 8, 9-win team. I know what LSU is. So Alabama may win tomorrow or Saturday in Tiger Stadium. Wouldn't surprise me a lick if Alabama won that game. But what would stun me is if Alabama gets into the college football playoff and wins it this year. It would stun me if next year Alabama wins a national championship. That would stun me, because I think those days are gone with Nick Saban gone.
But I think it's gone for everybody, though, right? I mean, I'm looking at a prediction
Ryan,
that I made around Brian Kelly that
single program in college football would be elated with the season Alabama had a year ago. And you're telling me that's a regression. And what I'm telling you is...
It was a failure. It was a failure last year.
Fine, last year was a failure. If last year's a failure, then every season under Kalen DeBoer is going to be a failure. Is this a failure because you lost to Vanderbilt?
If they win Saturday and they're in the playoffs, I think that would be success. I think if you can make
and if they get in the playoff as an at-large, as the number 12 or 11 or 12, and they lose in the first round, we're going to be telling me you and I are going to talk
year number 1
after
yes,
that.
Yes,
and no.
Yes.
We're going to talk at media days, and you're going to tell me that's a successful season.
It is for year number 1.
You mean you're going to open up? You're going to open up your phone lines the day after Alabama loses in the college football playoff, and people are going to be, that is a great season. Great year number 1 for Kalen DeBoer.
You
are outside of your mind.
No,
you
but
are
you're
outside
asking,
of your mind.
Okay, but there's 2 different questions. Is it me that's pleased with it? Yes. The fans? No. I'm telling you. Listen, I've tried to coach these fans that the new college football, they're not even accepting that. I mean, they hate it when I bring it up to try to explain that you're not going to win a national title. What Coach Saban did, winning 2 in a row or 3 out of the last 4, whatever metric you want to use, it's not going to happen again. Those days are over. It's just not going to happen in college football. So Alabama fans have got to recalibrate their expectation level. Georgia fans.
I think it'll be fascinating to see what a 12 team does for the postseason.
Yeah. No, I do as well. All right. Hey, real quick. Give me this injury report real quick, and I'll let you get out of here, because I know you got a show to do. We noticed last night that they released a long list of players. Is LSU this beat up, or is this just maybe a little gamesmanship here?
I don't know that it's – so there's a lot of players that have – like when you look at it, they include the season enders. So like Harold Perkins is on there, and I don't have it in front of me, Ryan. Forgive me.
Here's Jordan Allen, Harold Perkins, Kyle Parker, John Emery, Trey Holly, Thomas Crawford.
Right, a bunch of season enders.
Tons.
Yeah. So all that we knew. Here's what this is significant. So if you're looking for something in the game, so LSU's starting left guard is Garrett Dellinger. He's a 4-year starter, and he is, you look at Pro Football Focus, he's the highest rated offensive lineman on the team. He's out for the game. He had that tightrope ankle surgery. And so Paul Mabenga is replacing him. He's a second-year guy, hasn't played a ton. Good young player, good upside and all, but young guy. That is a big loss for LSU, especially for a team that has struggled to run the football this year. Now we'll see if that matchup is favorable, because Alabama at times has struggled to stop the run this year. But that is something to watch, how Paul Mabenga at left guard does, replacing Garrett Dellinger.
Matt Moscona, we hope that you're doing whiskey and wine on Saturday evening after this Alabama and LSU game, and it'll be highly ratings from Tuscaloosa, because you can find it on the YouTube channel ESPN 104.5. Matt Moscona, roll Tide. Thank you, man.
Man, you know you're gonna be watching that no matter what, Ryan.
Probably will be. I mean, your ratings are off the charts. Hey, listen, I'm sorry I went a little bit long, man. We got into a great discussion, and have a great show this afternoon, and I'm sure you guys are going to be focusing on this game, man. Thanks again.
Appreciate you, Ryan, man. Hope to see you soon, bud.
All right, Matt Moscona, ESPN 104.5. I'd like to pick up where he stopped there, and we'll continue that conversation. I think we agree in some areas, but in some other areas, maybe not as much. We'll talk about it. Coming in with a hot conversation, right? I mean, a lot of things on his mind, a lot of things, the world of college football. I think we agree. I just don't think the path that we both take are identical, okay? He thinks it's more Kalen DeBoer, and I disagree. I think Kalen DeBoer, for this job in year number one, if you make the college football playoffs. Now, this will be up to you. I can't tell you what to think. I can give you what I think, and you don't have to agree with it. But I think year number one, if you make the college football playoffs, that would be success compared to where this team was earlier. And I think when you look at the numbers, I think if you can get his talent here, I think when you start to adjust, I don't think he's running a lot of his system. He's running some, but I still think that they're adjusting there. All right, that's one of the big topics that we're going to dive into, because I do think that it's not going to be every year that Alabama is going to be in the national championship game or win the national title. I think college football has changed. It's designed on what Nick Saban was able to do. So I agree with him with Coach Saban's success. I also agree that if Nick Saban is here, you are able to keep a few of these players. But listen, there was players that were checking out from a monetary standpoint when you've got these elite players, and I'm sure it'll happen this year, right? I mean, we're going to hear the buzz. Well, is Ryan Williams going to get targeted by one of these big schools that's got tons and tons of money? Probably, because it's the market. Now, is it going to happen? No, I think Ryan Williams sees the value in Kalen DeBoer's system. I mean, Ryan Williams playing here and playing somewhere else, I don't know if he would have the same impact. I don't know if they would use him the way that Kalen DeBoer has put so much pressure on a 17-year-old young man. So I look at it, I think Matt and I agree in the end result. I just don't think our pathway, it's like going to Destin, Florida. You can go through Montgomery, you can go 65, hit 10 across, you can go through Dothan. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to get to Destin or Gulf Shores. Now, I prefer the Mississippi route. A lot of people don't prefer that route. So I think we're ending at that same point. We're just going at a different way. All right, so we're going to go through our parlay pick contest. We'll do this for today and tomorrow. Also, let me remind you, coming up tomorrow evening, this will be a dynamic day. It is Tuscaloosa County Charity Gospel Singing, and it's Don Wallace, which is our official accountant. He helps us with the parlay picks and all these number crunches, because you guys have made it a little bit tough on me this year. But tomorrow, it's going to be at Inglewood Baptist Church. I know a lot about Inglewood Baptist Church because that was my home church for 14 and 15 years. Then my wife moved out to Coker, and that's a big drive. But Inglewood Baptist Church, beautiful location. If you're looking at Shelton State, the church on the left, the big church, there's Inglewood Baptist Church. The concert starts tomorrow, 6 p.m. Triumphant is the name of the band. Carmen McCory and also Legacy Gospel. Admission is free. Love offering will be accepted. And this is the big part about it. Net proceeds benefit Eagles Wings. Simply an amazing charity here in West Alabama. Eagles Wings does so many great things for our adult population, those who, maybe have Down syndrome or have another disability. Eagles Wings, you guys are amazing. Also, Alabama Baptist Children's Homes and God's House of Hope. Simply a great option and a production of Jesus Jam, which is Don Wallace's organization. They do a lot of these charity gospel singing. So we've mentioned that a couple times, and we'll continue. Let's continue here, right here on the show. And we go to Wayne in Northport. Wayne, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
All is well, Ryan.
Man, Matt kind of hurt my feelings.
Tuesday.
I'm sorry?
I said, especially since Tuesday, things are going well.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great day. It's a great day, man. It's,
great
look
day
at
for
it.
the country, I think.
Yeah, the stock market agrees. So, it's big day. Big day. And, now you're going to see a lot of these restrictions be lifted. The economic value, and as many people that probably disagree with Tuesday, they're going to open up their 401k. They're going to look at their retirement, their savings. It's good economically. And listen, for me, I deal with small businesses that sponsor this show. I wouldn't be here without small businesses. We wouldn't have a sports show. We probably wouldn't have a music show. Small businesses now are going to be lifted. Now, it's not going to be an overnight 24-hour fix.
No,
it's
going to take a while.
There's more confidence in the economy. And you saw that yesterday with 1,600 points, almost 1,600 points in the stock market. Today it's back up. NASDAQ's through the roof. Dow Jones not as high. They just had a Fed cut rate, and, Powell cut the rate. He kind of set it up the future, and some of the numbers look really, really good. And we'll see if, he can dig us out of this valley. But, hey, let's go through this.
Let's go through the parlay picks. You need a tiebreaker. What was the tiebreaker on the? I didn't get to call in on the score prediction. What was the tiebreaker for that? I don't want to duplicate it.
Yeah, it was Jalen Milroe total passing yards. But hey, what'd you think about what Matt Moscano said? Because I know you got strong opinions.
Yeah, I totally disagree with him. By the third year that Kalen DeBoer is here, he will duplicate what Saban did in his first 3 years. What I mean is, I think in the third year he's here, I think we'll win a national championship.
I would feel more comfortable because I made the prediction about Brian Kelly would win 1 in 5 years. He would win 1 in the first 5 years. I've been wrong. Okay. I don't think I'm going to, that prediction is not going to hold up. I'm going to go ahead and eat crow here in year number 3. They're not going to do it. But I would take that same prediction and even cut it off 1 year and say that Kalen DeBoer will win 1 in 4 years. I do. I think that. I think his system is going to work. And I don't think people from the outside, and I'm not saying Matt's outsider because he covers the SEC. I don't think people realize.
He's not wrong in that Kalen DeBoer would, we probably wouldn't have lost the Vanderbilt game if
I agree.
Saban was still here.
He's right.
That, I still think there's some limitations in this offense right now with what we're doing and what Kalen DeBoer prefers to do. I think holding on to Keelan Russell is a big key to this thing in this recruiting class. If we can get him signed and get him here, I think not his freshman year, but I think by his sophomore year, I think we'll have a shot at it.
Yeah, well, and I would feel more comfortable. Like I said, Matt's a friend of mine. I respect the heck out of him. I'll tell you a real funny story. I was asked to judge the Louisiana Broadcasters Association awards for Matt Moscano. This was, I think, 2 years ago. And there was a multiple different sports stations that had submitted entries. Okay. And I was part of the judging pool that judged, and they sent us all these audio clips. And there was no doubt, listen, Matt's submission was so much better than the other members, okay? And here's the bad thing. Our corporate group that owns my station that I'm on now was also one of the entries that submitted to this Louisiana Broadcasters Association. So I had to choose Matt over the company that I work for. But it was, but I had to use integrity, right? I mean, I had to evaluate for what the judge was, and Matt was better. I mean, his submission was better. And so I'm going, oh man, if Town Square Media finds out that I selected a competition, they're going to kill me. But hey, integrity is important to me. So anyway, trying to remove any bias that I have. All right, let's go. Bama LSU. It's Bama minus the 2.5. 58.5 is the game total. Florida at Texas. Texas minus 21.5. 47.5 is the game total. Georgia, Ole Miss. Georgia minus 2.5. 54.5. South Carolina coming off the win against Texas A&M. They go to Vanderbilt. South Carolina minus the 4.5. 45.5 is the game total. Mississippi State at Tennessee. Tennessee minus the 24. 61.5 is the game total. Over under. Oklahoma traveling to the Show Me State. The Missouri Tigers, they are the underdog here. I mean, that's when I want to go back and make sure I didn't write that down incorrectly, because that just looks wrong when you look at this game. But the Missouri Tigers, a team that Alabama needs to continue to have success. We also play Oklahoma, so it's not really going to counter, but I want to make sure that I wrote that down. Yeah, it's Oklahoma minus the 3. Wow. I mean, let that kind of sink in a little bit. Oklahoma minus the 3. 41.5 is the game total. Oklahoma go in there. They'll go there as a favorite against 24 ranked, the Missouri Tigers. Washington at Penn State. I want to go ahead and get Penn State another loss and get them out of the college football playoffs. That's the only reason I put it here. It's Washington, Penn State minus the 14. BYU and Utah, BYU minus the 3. Wayne, let's go.
Okay. Give me Utah. Give me Alabama. Okay. And give me Georgia.
Okay. Georgia. And as the first caller out of the gate, you select the tiebreaker. Where do you want to go?
Bama rushing yards, because I think it's the key to the game.
Amen. 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 Bama rushing yards.
And I'm going to say 225.
All right. I got you. 225.
Hey,
thank you. All right.
One more thing before I go. I nominate Paul for our new fearless leader, where Dawson used to be. I nominate Paul for that position.
I tell you what, he would be good. And yesterday we had some fun with Paul, and I appreciate his service to our country, man. Thank you. Thank you, Wayne, for saying that.
Good deal.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Wayne, in Northport, we're coming back. We're going to take more phone calls. We got Josh from College Football Nerds. We're going to spend maybe 14, 15, 16 minutes with him. Bama Nick will be the first caller. Something that I use, right? I use the service department. We have all of our vehicles serviced there. We all own Toyotas. It's just something that, I feel like that we get the best bang for our buck. And 4Runners, Highlanders, Tundras, we have all of the above there in our household. My daughter drives a Tundra. My wife drives a 4Runner. And I'm in a Highlander currently. I'm in a decked out Highlander. Beautiful, beautiful vehicle. If you're talking about the smooth ride that it provides and the speed, I know. I got to watch those Smoky Bears in that highway patrol because, that thing can get a little bit faster at times. But, we're hiring. We're looking for people to join our winning team. Very competitive pay plan, 401k with match, Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance, paid vacation, paid training. It is Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com. Let's go to Josh from collegefootballnerds.com, collegefootballnerds.com. Josh, I hope you're doing well. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. So, do I understand you're auditioning for Smokey and the Bandit and your Highlander from that conversation?
Well, okay. So I've got a real good friend that's a highway patrol, both in the state of Alabama and the state of Mississippi, okay? And you know this because you're an attorney. I was always told to be as kind as you possibly can to the state trooper. Understand, accept the ticket, okay? Accept the ticket, and then you call your buddy, and your buddy, you don't ever do the name drop, okay? You don't ever walk up to a state patrol officer and you say, hey, man, I'm real good friends with this, because they hate it. They hate it. That'll get you the ticket. But you are super kind. You apologize for speeding. You pull off. You call your buddy, and he goes, all right, man, I'll call him. He'll pull the ticket out of the system. So to say that I've used that before is a negative. I just know it's in my back pocket as a rook card.
You know, everybody has a community chance card you pull. You just hold on to that thing till you need it, right?
Yeah. Listen, the Highlander, I will look down and I'll be like, okay, I am running 90 miles per hour. I got to back it off because it's a go-getter. It's a go-getter. It's built on that Lexus frame, and man, that thing has got some speed. Josh, I want you to react to this. We just got this just a couple of minutes ago. Ross Dellinger just tweeted out the SEC has set a football scholarship limit of 85 for 2025. The league told Yahoo Sports in a response to a request that is 20 fewer than the max 105 under the House's settlement roster. Schools may still have a roster up to 105, 80 scholarships, and 20 walk-ons. Give me your reaction to this, because there was a lot of discussion that it might be increased, or you may not have a reaction. That's okay.
Well, it's new to me, and honestly, it's confusing. So I haven't heard that, and now I read through the initial House settlement that was actually rejected by the judge out in California, and they were told to go back to the drawing board. And my understanding of that settlement agreement, as I originally read it, was that they were not allowed to put any cap on the number of scholarships given. And the whole reason that there was a change from 85 to 105 is that they had to set a roster limit for the sport, period. And within that roster limit for every sport, the point was you couldn't tell them how many of those student athletes were on scholarship, right? So if football had a 105-man roster limit, it was going to be strictly 105 people on the team. But then, all 105 could theoretically be on scholarship. So that's surprising to me. It seems contrary to how I understood the settlement to work. But I know there was some latitude given to the conferences to interpret it. Financially, the big deal with that was that with like baseball, a lot of Alabama fans are painfully aware that they don't have the lottery, and they don't have nearly as many kids on scholarship as states that do have the lottery. And the upshot of this was the NCAA wasn't going to be able to tell them that you can't have every baseball player on the team on scholarship. If it's a 26-man roster, all 26 can be on scholarship in a given sport. So it's interesting to me, Ryan. I really got to look into that because that is contrary to my prior understanding. It may be a result of the fact that I know they had to go back and revise the settlement because the initial one, the judge refused to sign off on the agreement that the parties originally reached. But no, that's fascinating. So,
okay,
it's a complicated situation.
Yeah, let me go to here on a footnote here. Ross Dellinger also saying a reminder, schools are permitted, not required, to fund scholarships to their entire rosters as long as they stay within roster limits imposed by the settlements. Conference can set their own limits within the national limits. No other conference has set football limits. Many of the new roster limits are lower than the current roster size. Many walk-ons are losing their spots as schools begin trimming rosters to get within limits. So I don't know exactly what all that means. If that adds anything or clears anything up, or maybe it's just parallel with what you were talking about.
Well, it's in line with what I was saying, which is that they moved from a scholarship limit to a total roster limit. And then, just like you read, they're not allowed to limit or control how many scholarships are given within the total roster. So the confusion I have is down to the 105-man roster they have today to 85. Currently, it's a 105-man roster, 85 on scholarship. I think the assumption was they were going to move up to a 105-man roster, keep that, and just all 105 would be on scholarship. It sounds like they're doing away with 105, going down to 85 and cutting the walk-ons. Or, to be completely frank, it may be Dellinger's not quite describing it accurately or could be a little bit confused.
Okay. Yeah, it says the The SEC has set a football scholarship limit of 85 for 2025. The league told Yahoo Sports in a response to a request that is 20 fewer than the max 105 under the House's settlement roster structure. Schools may still have rosters up to 105, 85 scholarships plus 20 walk-ons. I'm just making sure I'm reading that slowly. So, and then he says, as football coaches recruit now to build rosters for 2025 season, it was important to provide them with parameters to manage this interim period as we await a final ruling on the House settlement, which would address how scholarships are managed going forward. SEC schools will maintain an 85 scholarship limit for the 2025 season as the same in past years, with an overall roster size to be established by the settlement if it is approved.
So there's your answer, Ryan. It's awaiting the final settlement. I told you that the original one had been struck down and they were having to go back to the judge. So what they're really saying, in effect, they currently have 85-man scholarships limits and then a 105-man roster. And they're just saying that through 2025, they're going to keep that same limit because the settlement isn't final yet. And when the settlement's final, that's probably when it'll switch to 105 on scholarship. So if I understand all that right, really this turns into nothing, much ado about nothing. They're just saying, the SEC is just officially saying we're going to have the same limits we have right now until the settlement's finalized, which probably would be in 2026.
Okay. I don't want to go down the political route. We spent way too much time on politics on this show, and certainly I don't ever try to restrict people's opinion. But there is some talk because of Ted Cruz winning his Senate seat out. He had a lot of interest in this NIL, college football. Nick Saban's been up there multiple times. Ted Cruz, I think even Ross Dellinger identifying that he could be one of those guys. Do you see what happened on Saturday with now a completely, executive branch that's going to be conservative with could be a House that's Republican. The Senate's already went red. Do you see that impacting the structure? And if so, which way?
Yeah, no, understood. And, for those that don't follow, I actually do live in the D.C. area. So this is all very, very day-to-day for me. So, and I'll keep this sort of an observation of what may happen without going into the politics, or commentary on how I feel about any of it. The thing that I think is most notable in all that is that the same party could control Congress and the presidency, right? And what that really means is if there's a push for legislation to change the landscape of NIL and the transfer portal and what have you, the same party having control across the board makes it much easier for, the establishment GOP to decide, hey, this is a proposal that we're all in agreement with NIL. That proposal will likely come more from Southern constituents. Tommy Tuberville in Alabama is probably a key guy that could put forward a bill. And if the GOP approves it, that bill stands a very good chance of getting all the way through. Because I don't think that's something the Democrats would be likely to filibuster in the Senate. Otherwise, it's true. Otherwise, the situation we have previously, there are competing bills from Free Booker, Democrats, bills, proposals from Republicans, and then you're in this quagmire because the House and the Senate were, different sides, and nobody could really get full agreement or proposal sort. So I do think the change matters. I don't know that the party control with this particular issue is going to necessarily change the structure of it. I would think the GOP is a little less inclined to be pro-NIL. But the thing, and we've talked about this a few times, Ryan, because of my legal background, it's important to understand all the stuff going on really revolves around antitrust law at the federal level and state law, which is the real driver starting in Florida and California, that mandated that NIL be legal. Because the NCAA is not a government body. A lot of people don't understand that. They are basically a trade group. If even a single state passes a law and says you must allow NIL, the NCAA is required to abide by it because they have no force of law. They're not a government body. But even antitrust law is just a federal law. If Congress passes a law and says NIL is legal, it is not but it has to be in these constraints. Students are not employees. You can restrict the number of scholarships in NIL, and it does not violate antitrust. stroke of a pen, they can overrule the Sherman Act. I mean, it's just federal law. And I do think one party being in complete control does significantly increase the chances of that happening, just because it's a lot easier to get everybody on the same side and get total agreement to pass any particular bill, if that makes sense.
I think that's brilliant, is what we're listening to. Josh, college football nerds that we love to dive into. All right, let's move to the Alabama and LSU game. When you begin to break this game down, what do you think are the things that you're glued in upon to decide the outcome at the end of the day?
The biggest thing for this game to me is the run game. When you look at these two teams, the thing that's defined LSU a little bit, in our metrics, they're probably a top 15 run defense, and they're really in the 60s or 70s as a pass defense. I mean, they've kind of lived and died on whether or not they can stop the run. If you look at the games they lost or struggled in, it was running quarterbacks at South Carolina and Texas A&M, and they ran for over 5 yards, sometimes 6 yards a carry in those games. The rest of the season, they generally hold teams to like 3 yards a carry. And so I think if Alabama can establish the run, they can have a lot of success. LSU's probably going to be without Guillory. He's really kind of their one true defensive tackle. I know I'd heard from defensive coaches in the SEC to start the season through the grapevine. The question for LSU is, can you play winning football without a defensive tackle? Because their defensive line, interior defensive line depth, it's not just that they don't have depth, they don't have anybody, period. And so it was a little surprising they've been as good against the run as they have. Part of it is due to Weeks at linebacker, who's now banged up. But I think if Alabama can establish the run, it'll help. Teams that were able to run the quarterback have really killed LSU. Now, I don't think Milroe is the same kind of runner, I will say, as Sellers is, or Reed at A&M. Those guys, Milroe's probably as fast or faster, but those guys are natural runners. They are clearly runners playing quarterback. And Jalen Milroe is a quarterback that can run fast, but he's not really that comfortable running in terms of vision, running through tackles. That's fine. He can use his speed, but he's not quite the same guy. He doesn't run zone read particularly well. On the other side of the ball, it's the same token. Can LSU run? Because when they've been successful, they run the ball well. And, the factoid I'll throw out to you, Ryan, on this is I think everybody sort of assumes or understands that LSU has this great passing game. But, we set the bar for a competent passing game at 7.5 yards per pass attempt. Okay, so 3/4 what you need for a first down. That's pretty well the mark for a competent passing attack. A good passing attack is 8.5. LSU in power conference play has not had an 8.5 yard per attempt game this year. And I think Jaden Daniels last year averaged like 11. They have not thrown the ball particularly well. And again, in our metrics, they're like in the 40s as a passing offense, believe it or not, when you adjust for opponents. And I think that says a lot about how they're built. They really do have to lean on the ground game a little more. And I think it's because Nussmeier isn't nearly as mobile. The offensive line struggled a little bit. And if the opposing team can pin their ears back, they have real issues in pass protection, and then their turnover rate goes up, and the offense tends to start to snowball a little bit against them. So, I think the ability for both teams to run the football, because of Milroe and the way Alabama's offense works, it works so much better when Milroe can create a little bit with his legs and give himself some confidence, but also open up the rest of the passing game. And then for LSU, they really need to avoid being in third and long situations. That run game won't be a huge chunk of the yardage in the game, but like old school football, or if you can't, everything else is going to look bad.
Josh, Alabama's a 3-point favorite. Do you feel like that's a fair number?
It is. You can go to collegefootballnerds.com, shameless plug, and run a computer model between any two teams. And our model has this game 2.5 points in Alabama's favor. And I'll say I think we're 2 points off the over-under and a point off the point spread. So for what it's worth in our power ratings, we come up with basically the exact number that Vegas has for this game.
You like Alabama to win?
Yeah, I think I do. I had them. I got them by about a touchdown, and we did a preview. You can look for it, College Football Nerds on YouTube, and watch our whole breakdown. I do have Alabama by a little bit in this game. I just think historically, LSU's had so many problems with running quarterbacks. And I also think that injury to Dellinger, you talk about with Twitter, I mean, he's the Tyler Booker of their offensive line. I don't think they're going to run the ball well without him. And Alabama's a team that's needed to get healthy and probably will be. And let's not forget, Ryan, what happened the last time Alabama came off a bye week? That was Georgia this year. And the first 1.5 quarters coming out of that game from a bye with Sheridan and DeBoer having time to game plan, they were up 28-0 on Georgia. So you put all that together, you know, I said our model has this a 2.5-point spread, but that's on a neutral field. For Alabama to be 3 points in Tiger Stadium, I think it says a lot about the fact that Vegas does think Alabama's a better team, and I think the fact they're coming off bye and the injury situation all favors them as well.
Hey, Josh, going back to the college football playoff rankings, was there anything that grabbed you from your analytical approach that maybe you were surprised with or maybe you thought was, a little odd?
There may be two oddities. One, I don't know if Notre Dame's being punished enough for the Northern Illinois loss. We have Ole Miss really high with 2 losses and have them over, teams with 1 bad loss. But then Notre Dame's up there with 1 bad loss, and then Alabama's behind them. The biggest puzzle to me, Ryan, is actually the bottom of the rankings, that Missouri continues to be ranked. I don't get it. I know their schedule is very hard, but I haven't seen them play well against good teams. Coulda, woulda, shoulda lost to Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt right now is a better football team than they are. And at the same time, they won't rank South Carolina. And I think South Carolina, if they played Missouri today, I'm not sure they wouldn't be a 10-point favorite. And when you look at record, maybe, but, strength of schedule has been so much harder for South Carolina. I think they're a better team. What they've done is more impressive. So, when we talked before, I told you if Alabama wins out, I thought they'd be like 6th or 7th in the final poll. I think that's already coming out that they're a top 8, top 9 team overall. But, while the committee is taking strength of schedule into account, there are a few teams where I feel like to some degree they're playing games with whether you want to punish a bad loss, reward a team for a good win. And particularly, I don't know that they're rewarding enough teams that have played well against good opponents relative to teams that have just managed not to lose against lesser opponents, if that makes sense.
It's Josh from College Football Nerds, highly requested guest. Earlier this week, we moved him back from Wednesday to Thursday. I appreciate him being flexible. collegefootballnerds.com, collegefootballnerds.com. Do a search for it on YouTube. Subscribe, as he said, a comprehensive preview of Alabama and LSU and a lot of other college football games. You can also go to the X account. It is CFB Nerds, at CFB Nerds, collegefootballnerds.com. He talked about the model. And if you're one of those that loves to be able to look at other future games, maybe it's Georgia, Ole Miss, you can do that on that website. You can plug in the team and they sign up. You can sign up. You can even do more games there. collegefootballnerds.com. Also, like I said, subscribe on the YouTube channel. Hey, Josh, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for being a part of our show.
As always, Ryan, thanks for having me. And, I guess roll Tide. I'm on the radio.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Josh. Have a great rest of your day, man.
You too.
Thank you. Josh from collegefootballnerds.com. College football, you're going on McFarland Boulevard. You're traveling westbound. The old Winn-Dixie Shopping Center, one of our great sponsors, El Gran Patron, is right there on the right-hand side of the road. And you'll go past those guys, and right on the right there, you'll see a newly renovated shopping center. A couple of years ago, they did a new paint scheme. If you go to the Blue Plate, you went too far. But it's the Wharf. Everybody knows where the Wharf is located, right? The work in Western wear since 1976. You don't stay in business for that length of time unless you're doing something at a high level. They got 60 different brands of boots. Justin, Tony Lama, Red Wing, Georgia, Double H, Timberline, Laredo, and many, many more. Rocky Clothing, Under Armour Clothing, Carhartt Clothing, Wrangler, Levi Lee. You'll find all of those great items. It is the Wharf. Since 1976, the work in Western wear for the entire family. You'll find it at the Wharf right there on McFarland Boulevard. Go see those guys, Mark and Lee. Tell them the game sent you. Chances are they're in there listening to us on Sports Talk Radio here on Tide 100.9. So hello, Mark and Lee. Appreciate you guys. But, hey, go by and get some of those camo options. coming up later this month. Deer season is going to be opening up, and we've got our big buck contest here on Tide 100.9 that's presented by Hicks Taxidermist. But hey, if you're looking for the camo options, you can find it at the Wharf since 1976 to work in Western wear for the entire family. I mean, I was born in 78, so when I say 1976, I think about, we're approaching 50 years of serving our community, the work in Western wear for the entire family. Appreciate those guys for being a longtime sponsor of our program. It is the Wharf, open until 6 p.m. All right, we're coming back. We're going to take more phone calls coming up in just a couple of minutes. But we did have a lot of guests. That's why we're doing our parlay picks presented by Brian Hart Construction for 2 days here. So we'll come back. We're going to take phone calls, but we're also going to talk with Bruce Marshall, and then we'll talk to Brad Powers. So be patient. I think I kind of gave a little bit of disclaimer as we opened up the show today, kind of understanding that we would be guest heavy today a little bit. So I appreciate Josh, man. What a breakdown. What a breakdown from college football nerds.
There's a lot. You're right, Ryan. There's a lot. Texas has still got to play A&M. We've seen everybody except Mississippi State pull an upset in this league. You've seen Kentucky win at Ole Miss. Vandy's good this year. We saw what they did to Alabama and what they did to Auburn last week. So, there's banana peels out there everywhere. As far as Bama is concerned, Bama just keeps winning. They're going to be in the 12th. Just keep winning. Don't worry about getting the SEC title game. They'll be in the 12th. I hear what you're saying. Does the Georgia win get diminished a little bit if the Bulldogs lose at Vaught Hemingway? Possibly. But I still think it's going to be. Georgia's rated very highly. I think these SEC teams are. So I still think that win carries some weight for Bama. I do know in Ole Miss's case this week, they could really use this one. I think this puts Ole Miss in the top 12. I'm not sure they'd knock out, but this is one Ole Miss really has to have this week. I think they might get it. Lane needs. He's sort of been like the James Franklin of the SEC in the last few years. Maybe he's going to get one of these big ones. This would sure be the time to do it.
There's so many different things here that we could talk about. South Carolina with a very impressive victory. That helps your resume from Alabama. They go to Vanderbilt. One of the listeners earlier this week asked me, he said, who are you pulling for? South Carolina because you beat them, or Vanderbilt because they beat you as far as a resume booster? Forget about all that. Just break down this game for us. South Carolina at Vanderbilt in Nashville. South Carolina minus the 4.5.
It has been since 2008. When Bobby Johnson was at Vandy, and they had that 5-0 start that year, or 5-0 or 5-1. They had a really fast start since they've beaten South Carolina. They have lost every year since, and Shane Beamer really ran it up last year, 47-6 at Williams-Brice. I have, the respect I have for Vandy this year and what Clark Lee has done, and it is mostly due to the New Mexico State guys coming in. I give Jerry Kill a lot of credit because I think he's doing a lot of the coaching this year. Tim Beck, offensive coordinator, and Diego Pavia for sure. I think he's the all-SEC quarterback. But, Pavia's stats have not been that overwhelming in some of these recent games. And frankly, the Texas game a couple weeks ago, that was a little deceiving. Texas had a pick six in the last minute that puts that score at 34-17. They called it back. And then Vandy scored in the last few seconds to get within 3. So a little bit deceiving there. South Carolina's defense is, I think, close to Ole Miss and maybe one of the best in the SEC, if not the country. That defensive front, you guys saw it at Alabama 4 weeks ago when they came in to Tuscaloosa. Sellers has been a little bit up and down at quarterback, but I think Shane Beamer has done a heck of a job. And that defense, I think they will keep Pavia in check. I thought this last week that Auburn might. I was wrong on that last week. Vanderbilt got it, and I think it was more Auburn's fault. They overestimated Auburn. I think South Carolina can win, and I kind of think Vanderbilt's going to run out of gas at some point. I thought it last week, and this is just based on doing this for all those years you talked about that I've been doing this. Teams just can't keep punching above their weight for 3 full months, and I think Vandy might be due a little slide here. So I'm going to take South Carolina in this one.
All right. One of the lines that I don't understand is Oklahoma traveling to the Missouri Tigers. They will travel there to Columbia, Missouri as a favorite. I know this probably has something to do with Brady Cook. I looked at the availability. He's questionable. Is that what this is all about? Oklahoma at the Missouri Tigers. Missouri's in the top 25. Oklahoma's 5-4, 1-4 in the SEC, and it's Oklahoma minus the 3.
I think you're right. I think it has everything to do with Cook's availability or unavailability. I mean, he did play for a bit, to a lot of our surprise 2 weeks ago in Tuscaloosa. Then he had to come back out. And with the backup, they didn't do anything. They've also been down their one of their top running backs, and that offense did nothing against Alabama. So I think that's the last memory we have here of Missouri. So that might have something to do with it. I saw Oklahoma play 2 weeks ago, and they were outplaying Ole Miss in the first half in the game I was at in Oxford. And then Ole Miss finally wore them down. But, looks like, they had a non-conference win last week. They worked some more kinks out of the offense. Jackson Arnold might be finally coming around a little bit. Nonetheless, I think this is a bad number. I think this is too much of a reaction, because Mizzou usually wins, and Oklahoma, like you said, 1-4 in the SEC. They have had their problems in this league. So I would lean to Mizzou cautiously, thinking that Cook will play. But if we hear that Cook doesn't, I would back off of this one completely.
Other than outside of the SEC games, is there anything outside of the league that grabs you from your perspective that you just look at that could maybe turn something up on its head? Anything out there? I mean, Michigan, Indiana certainly may be intriguing, that Indiana can continue and get to double digits, undefeated win. Anything out there that grabs you outside of the SEC?
Yeah, although this wouldn't. There's a couple. I know Army's getting a lot of love here. And it should. And by the way, Jeff Monken should be right there, Coach of the Year, with Cignetti and maybe Kalani Sitake at BYU. But this number's moving down at North Texas this week. North Texas has lost some close games against Tulane and Memphis, some real shootouts the last couple of weeks. But with Chandler Morris really put up some big numbers. This could be a tough game for Army, so I'm not sure they can survive this one. They're in Denton this week. One other one, and this would not be a shocker, but this is just sort of what is going on here with Florida State. Some teams are bad because they make mistakes and they lose. NFL, like the Jets or the Browns or something, it's just mistake after mistake. Some teams are bad because they are flat out bad, and this is Florida State. Ryan, look at the national stats this year offensively. They are down right at the bottom. I mean, talking like down with Kent State. Total offense, Kent State's the only team worse than Florida State. Running the football, second from the bottom. Scoring offense, second from the bottom. I mean, they are horrific. DJU, I don't think he's going to play the rest of the year. Not that he was much of a help to them anyway, but the other quarterbacks, Glenn and Klomanuk, the freshmen, are just not doing anything. They go to Notre Dame this week. We better keep our eye on Notre Dame. I know we lost the scent on them against Northern Illinois earlier, but they have put it together, and this defense is real. I don't know that Florida State's going to score a point this week. It's 26. That looks like a lot. If Florida State gets to 10, I'd be shocked. And this is what I thought last week. I thought North Carolina would smoke them, and they did. And I'm going to lay the big points at Notre Dame. It's just, I cannot believe how bad Florida State is right now. And we're running out of chances to go against them, so let's do it while we can.
All right, Bruce Marshall, if you do a search, if you go to your Yahoo account or Google search engine, you type in Bruce Marshall, there's a million different things that come up. I mean, it's several pages long. Winners and Whiners, the podcast, you do that. Vegas Insider, CBS Sports HQ. Bruce, take as much time as you need. Promote everything, and how can we get some more advantages from your picks?
Thank you, Ryan. And by the way, college hoops is starting, and I have been on both Alabama and Auburn in their first games this week. We're off to a 5-0 start, and Alabama and Auburn looked really, really good.
Yes, they did.
First game, so we'll keep that in mind. But that's now too. College hoops, not any tonight. I'll have some more picks tomorrow night, and you can get those along with big football weekend, NFL and college hockey, NBA. Man, this is a fun time of year. Check me out, VegasInsider.com. My picks are there also. You mentioned CBS Sportsline, Sportsline.com, and the new place for picks, winnersandwhiners.com and picksandparlays.com.
Bruce Marshall, thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day and have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next Thursday. Thank you again for being a part of our show.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you. Bruce Marshall helping us out there. What a great segment. All right, we knew that we were going to be a little bit guest heavy here for the first couple of hours. We've done our best to try to squeeze in, but many times the conversation extends beyond. And Bruce Marshall there giving us, I don't love to squeeze people up against the break. We're at 56 minutes after the hour. Jackson, do we have enough time to take one call? What do you think? No? I know I asked you that during a break.
If we have a
quick
caller, there's Super Joe, JR, and Bubba.
So, all right, let's go Super Joe. Let's go Super Joe. Super Joe, good afternoon. Super Joe, you're in the game. All right. No Super Joe. How about Bubba in Northport? Bubba, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Roll, mega, roll, embrace the suck. That's SAUCK.
Yes, it is, Bubba. I appreciate you being patient. I'm sorry I couldn't get to you earlier. We had a lot of guests, and we've been a little bit.
Hey, you don't have to apologize to me, man. I'm gonna give it.
I
to
appreciate
you
you
because I'm a happy man since Tuesday, like everybody else.
I bet you are. All right, give me 3 picks. What do you think?
All right, I'm gonna go with Georgia,
South Carolina,
Alabama.
Bama. He's going to roll with the Tide, and Bama rushing yards.
197, and we're going to run it down the throat.
All right, what are the keys to victory in your opinion? Real quick.
I think we're going to have to run it down their throats, but we are going to have to pass for a couple 100 yards too. So I think a balanced attack of run, mix, pass, and no turnovers.
Okay. I do love the word balance, man. I think balance is the key, man.
Right.
Bubba, I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day, man. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Always fun to be able to visit with Bubba, helping us out, listening to us. We'll get back to JR and Coker and Bama Nick coming up. I think Bama Nick might be before JR. Welcome you right back into the game here in Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9. Remember to download the free Tide 100.9 app. It is a free download, Android, iPhone, Google Play. You can simply enable the Tide 100.9 skill and listen to us wherever you're able to dial into the internet. And like I said, the free mobile app is super convenient. You can do that, Tide 100.9. And not just listen to all of our shows. Morning 6 a.m. with Martin Houston, Wimp and Barry, Inside the Locker Room from 7 until 9, 9 until 11, the Gary Harris Show, WVUA Sports Director and our very own here at Tide 100.9. Wyatt Fulton, T-Town Sports Daily from 11 until noon. From noon until 2, the Miller's Edge with Corey and Christian Miller. 2 NFL guys and also 2 linebackers, one at South Carolina and then one at the University of Alabama, right here from 12 until 2. And then we pick it up every day starting at 2 o'clock. We're going to get you all the way until 6 o'clock. We're taking your phone calls. We're letting your reaction. We're talking about keys to victory for the University of Alabama against LSU. And we are powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com, 3325 Skyline Boulevard, and online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. Right now, we're going to Brad Powers, BradPowersSports.com. If you're looking on the X account, it's Brad Powers 7. Hey, Brad, welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa. Hope you're doing well.
Hey, thanks for having me as always.
Hey, Brad, so many different things to talk about in the world of college football, but let's just jump right into Alabama and LSU. When you look at this game coming off the bye week for both teams, what do you expect Saturday in Baton Rouge?
Well, I mean, if you're an LSU fan, I mean, you'd expect a better game plan against a mobile quarterback than what we've seen. Certainly last time out where they were clueless defending Marcel Reed. But should we expect one? Because it's been an issue for LSU for a while now, going back to last year's game against Alabama where Milroe ran for 155 yards. So anxious to see if they make any adjustments there. A multitude of things. Obviously, I would say just the importance of this game can't be overstated. Specifically for the loser, the losing fan base, I'm not sure how either one's going to handle it, to be honest with you. Alabama, I mean, obviously the loser's probably out of the playoffs, and Alabama's certainly not accustomed to that the last 2 decades, and boy, it would be a very hard pill to swallow for Brian Kelly in year 3 to lose to Kalen DeBoer, who's in year 1, especially on your home field. So a lot of compelling storylines. I'd like to see, can the Crimson Tide get Ryan Williams back going? Because, certainly they've gotten him the football the last 3 weeks, but he hasn't had that, that deep, deep threat presence that he had the first 5 games of the season where he led the country in yards per catch. Can the Alabama offensive line protect Jalen Milroe? Because, I still have some question marks there. LSU's defensive front has been better than expected, especially getting after the passer. On the other side of the ball, LSU needs to find some balance running the football. They haven't found it consistently this year, and they can't have Nussmeier back there throwing it 50-plus times a game. I mean, that's not, in these types of games, that's just not going to be conducive to winning. As far as, the people wanting a pick, last week I said that, I'm closer to pick them on the game, and we got Alabama favored by 3. I reran my numbers, adjusted a little bit off the bye. I would say, Alabama should be favored. I have them by 1.5. Obviously, we're at 3, very key number. Unfortunately, I got to tell it like it is. I lean LSU plus 3.
All right. Well, and that seems to be the case when we talk to people that are national analysts like yourself, that maybe they like the LSU Bengal Tigers as far as this number. Going back to LSU stopping the mobile quarterback, if they put some special attention to Jalen Milroe, if not, he may take advantage. But we've seen him be hesitant to run. Will that open up that passing attack? Because you think that they would probably counter trying to understand to slow down that mobile quarterback. That may give some money to be made in the back end of that secondary.
Yeah, you'd think that'd be the case. And it's not like it's a great LSU secondary. Zay Alexander's played really well, but, there's still some issues there. So, yeah, they have to commit another guy. Certainly there'll be some opportunities, and really nobody in college football throws the deep ball better than Jalen Milroe. So just a truly fascinating game. I don't think it's a high-value pick on LSU, but, boy, I got to tell you, entertaining, especially if you're into the fan bases and the local talk shows. The losing fan base is gonna be beside themselves on Saturday night.
Amen. Yes, it will be. Brad Powers 7 on the X account, BradPowersSports.com. You can get his Week 11 newsletter, where you can jump into some college football action as we enter the final month of the regular season. Let's go to Georgia at Ole Miss. Georgia goes there as a small favorite against Lane Kiffin's Oxford Ole Miss Rebels.
Another incredibly intriguing game. Not sure that it's a great value bet, but I did bet Ole Miss in this game. But it was, 3 is very critical. It was actually above 3 when I bet it. Would I bet it now at 2.5? No. I think there's more questions than answers. Here we are in November, and I don't know what Georgia team's going to show up. I mean, if you're telling me I'm getting the second half Georgia team against Clemson, the second half Georgia team against Alabama, the first half Georgia team against Texas, then, maybe 2.5 is cheap, and I should be betting Georgia. But I have not seen any consistency from them, particularly quarterback. Last 5 games, Carson Beck, 10 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. I mean, that's borderline being benched, honestly. I'm not exaggerating. I mean, if I was a coach, it would be crossing my mind at this point. Ole Miss, obviously, really good performance last week. Will Trey Harris play at wide receiver? They didn't need him last week. I mean, Dart threw for a school record 500-plus yards, 6 touchdowns. For me, can the Ole Miss offensive line hold up? That's still a weakness up front for them, and we saw Georgia finally turn the pass rush loose against Texas. I'd like to see it again from Kirby. He doesn't like to bring much. This would be the game I would. On the other side of the ball, I just think the difference between Ole Miss this year and last year is that defensive front. I know that they didn't handle, obviously Georgia killed them last year and Alabama handled them. But I just think, the reason they went out and spent some NIL money was that defensive front. And I just think they're better equipped to handle Georgia on the other side of the ball. So, you add it all up for me. Obviously, there's a more sense of urgency for Ole Miss. I mean, they lose, they're out. So, you can still find a 3. There's a couple 3s out there. I think that's worth a little bet, not a big one.
UW travels to Penn State. I want to stop before we get into the spread of this game and talk about James Franklin. There's a lot of upset people there in University Park, Pennsylvania, because they feel like James Franklin needs to get over this hump that's called Ohio State. Give me your thoughts on James Franklin and Penn State before we jump into this number.
And they're in a really tough situation because, he does win almost every single game that he should. But then again, he loses every single game where he's kind of a slight underdog. And just the statistics say you don't need to beat Ohio State in most seasons. I think people will accept the fact that Ohio State's, a little bit more talented than Penn State, but you can't be 1-10. You got too much talent to be 1-10 against the Buckeyes. You got especially with these games being relatively close. You got to, at some point, some season, make the critical coaching error that gets you over the top, and they just have not been able to do it. So, when I fire them, no, because I think, the talent side, it could be really bad there. It's not like it's a recruiting hotbed like it was in the 70s and 80s. But my goodness, I don't know what the answer is. Kind of, I grew up Catholic, so it's kind of, they're in purgatory there. So, but I think it's going to be a good night on Saturday night, because I don't like Washington making their fifth trip or their fourth trip in 7 weeks to the East Coast. The other three didn't go well at all for them. They're off a bit misleading win against USC. Whiteout at night. I think Penn State rolls. I laid at 13.5.
All right, let's take the Ohio State game with Purdue. Coming off that win, a lot of emotions. It's a big number. I know it's Purdue, but 38 points. Where would you side here?
I didn't bet it. Yeah, it's a huge number. And I'm certainly not inclined to bet Ohio State these big numbers this year compared to past years when they had, C.J. Stroud and a better passing attack, because I don't think they're necessarily interested in getting significant margin here. I would need a little bit more to bet Purdue. Purdue's really, really bad. They got a coach in year 2 that I think should be on the chopping block. That's how bad that is right now.
You agree with Florida deciding to keep Billy Napier? 4-4, 2-3. They're going to Texas. They'll go there as a major underdog, but first react to Billy Napier getting a confirmation that he will be in Gainesville throughout the year and coming back for 2025.
Yeah, I see it's not a popular move, but as of right now, it's the correct move. I don't see quit from them at all. I liked how they competed. Certainly year 3, you'd like to be better, but I mean, they're playing one of the toughest schedules we've seen in recent college football history. And now you're down to a third string quarterback. So I just, to me, in this type of situation, has the team quit? And that's obvious that they haven't. So, I mean, that can change though. So I know they did it for recruiting because of the class isn't too good. So, I mean, that's not going to be ideal, but let's see how they finish, because they still got 3 tough games and then a rival at the end. So this could still get pretty bad. So I think it's a little early to make the statement. I would have waited until to see how they did against Texas. Not that they need to win, but I mean, they go roll out and get beat by 30 or 40. That decision they announced today is going to become very unpopular.
Michigan goes to Indiana. They go there as a 14-point underdog. It's like, when does Indiana fade? We know that they've got Ohio State in 2 weeks. They'll have the bye week after this week against Michigan. What do you think about this number?
Well, it's historic. Indiana's never been favored over Michigan. Never. And yet they're laying more than 2 touchdowns. I mean, it's incredible. This line, I bet it. I mean, this is the worst bet I've ever made in my life, and I've made probably 10,000 bets. I bet Michigan, and I laid 13.5 points with Michigan in the summer. So we're talking, it's moved 4 touchdowns against me. I mean, it's an incredibly bad bet that I made. I'm embarrassed. But, you win some, you lose some. It's going to be a loss, big time. What do I do, though, this week? Boy, I stepped in front of Indiana last week with Michigan State. I felt pretty good when it was 10-0 after first quarter and a 47-0 run out. I'm not stepping in front of Indiana at this point. They've covered 8 straight games by an average of 17 points per game. That's tough to do. That they can consistently beat expectation by a significant margin each and every week. But it's up to 14.5. That's if you give me a $20 bill, if you're gracious enough to do that, I'd probably take 14.5, if I'm being honest.
BYU at Utah. BYU there at Salt Lake City. Obviously a rival game within a community that they all are amongst each other there. BYU minus the 3.
Well, we're getting in deep. I like this. We're going all across the country. Yeah, I lean Utah. Now, there's not much that I can say. The last 4 games have been all losses. They've been favored in all 4 of them. But this is the first time they've been an underdog this season. If you follow their program, I think this is it for Whittingham. This will be his final season, so his final chance to get Utah here and or to get BYU. And I know BYU's unbeaten. I know it's a rivalry game, but I think they're a little overrated. So if you can find 3.5 out there, I like Utah.
Iowa State on the bounce back. You say we're going all the way across the country. Iowa State lost to Texas Tech last week, and now they get Kansas. They go there as a 3-point favorite. That number seems to be a little low for a team at 7-1 and 4-1 of the Big 12.
Yeah, especially against a team that's 2-6. But man, Kansas is much better than their 2-6 record. I mean, 5 of their 6 losses are by 1 score. So I can tell you this: I was looking to bet Kansas pretty big this week. But what happened last week? Well, I mean, Iowa State finally lost. Another, in my opinion, overrated team. But once they lost that game against Texas Tech, I thought the value was lost in this game. I think the market's all over this. I'm stunned that it's only 3. I was hoping to get. Honestly, I thought I was going to get 4.5, 5 in this game.
I want to go back to one final game. Right now we're talking with Brad Powers, Oklahoma and the Missouri Tigers. Oklahoma minus the 3 at Columbia.
Well, I mean, the line's telling you Brady Cook's not going to play. It's flipped a touchdown since the open. It was Missouri minus 3 at the start of the week. Now it's Oklahoma minus 3. I mean, that tells you right now, like, Cook's likely not going to play. We'll see. I mean, he miraculously, has played, a little bit here, but boy, Drew Pine, you guys saw it. I mean, that should not be forget SEC. That's not a Division I quarterback. So looks like Oklahoma might be able, because of injury, to get a win here. And boy, it's needed because you look at their final games, they're not going to be favored in any of them. They've still have to play Alabama and LSU. So if Oklahoma wanted to get to a bowl game, they might have got fortunate injury news this week.
All right, going back to Alabama, that's the big topic of conversation when you look at the University of Alabama, and you like LSU. You like LSU to beat the University of Alabama. You like LSU plus the number.
Yeah, LSU plus 3. But again, I mean, my power rankings have Alabama 1.5. So how about this? I'll do the classic, it's political week. So let's go Alabama 28, LSU 27.
Okay. Brad Powers, talk about the website and everything that you are able to do.
Yeah, you can follow me on X, Brad Powers 7. You like what you see, you can head on over to the website, bradpowersports.com. I write a weekly newsletter every single game, college and pro. And then if you're interested, if you're a little more serious and want the premium picks, and you can bet stuff live as I give out information, quarterback news and all that, you can check out the VIP, bradpowersports.com.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate you. Hope you have a great day.
Hey, right back at you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Brad Powers 7, bradpowersports.com. Always fun to talk some college football with him. We will continue right here in the game. We'll take your phone calls. SEC Parlay Picks. Bama Nick coming up in a couple of minutes. T-Town Tide 100.9. The home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. Until 6 p.m. You're welcome to get those in today, or if you want to wait till tomorrow on a Brian Hard Construction Free-for-All Friday, SEC Parlay Pick Day, you can do that here in Tuscaloosa. We're taking your phone calls here in Tuscaloosa. Let me go through the lines. This is how we're playing these. We've had 2 handicappers that have been back-to-back, so got a little projections there for you. I kind of like it that these handicappers are taking LSU plus the points, okay? Not saying that they're going to be wrong, but it's both of these guys. I'll be curious to hear what Lee Sterling says tomorrow. It is Bama at LSU. It's Alabama minus the 2.5. The line was at 3 in some sports books, but I was being nice. I said Bama minus the 2.5. That's how we're going to play it. It's 58.5 is the game total. Florida at Texas. Texas minus the 21.5. 47.5 is the game total. Georgia at Ole Miss. Georgia minus the 2.5. 54.5 is the game total. It is South Carolina traveling to Vanderbilt. South Carolina minus the 4.5. 45.5 is the game total. You can play the over, you can play the under. Games in Nashville. Mississippi State going to Knoxville to take on Tennessee. They'll go there as a major underdog. Tennessee minus the 24. 61.5 is the game total. Oklahoma at the Missouri Tigers. Oklahoma minus the 3. 41.5 is the game total. Washington going to be traveling to Penn State. They'll go there as an underdog. Penn State minus the 14. BYU and Utah. And you say, Ryan, what are we doing talking about BYU? Well, we need to get a blemish, man. It's not just about getting to the college football playoffs, but it's improving your seeding. Right now, you're at 11. BYU loses, take us to L to a 4-4 Utah team. Alabama could possibly move up. BYU minus the 3. That one's played in Salt Lake City. If you know anything about that community, it's all within maybe an hour, 45 minutes. We have a listener out there that lives in Salt Lake City, but I think it's within an hour of that campus. You've got some big rivalries there between BYU and Utah. So we'll play that game there, BYU minus the 3. Let's continue, and we go here to number one caller on the program, and we go here to our good friend Bama Nick. Bama Nick, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
Everything's great, fella. Let me listen.
I want to spend my life with a girl like you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Do all the things that you want me to. Till that time has come. That we might live as one. Can I dance with you?
It speaks to my heart. It just when you play this song, I mean, you're the only guy other than Paul and Lincoln that now has a walk-up song.
That's because me and Paul are the greatest.
I mean, if you're gonna be the top, you got to earn your way to the
walk-up.
Yeah, you got to earn your way. But Bama Nick, I got a lot of questions for you, man. We can talk parlay picks, but I want to ask you: did you stay up and watch the election on Tuesday evening?
Brian Fowler, me and Bama Cathy was up till 3:00 in the morning watching that. That's why it took me 2 days to recover.
Were you
calling you today? It took me 2 days to recover.
Bama Nick, were you celebrating?
Oh yeah, fella. I had a watch party at the patio here. Me and Cathy.
Okay.
Me and Bama Cathy, of course, we're the only ones that showed up.
Yeah, I got you.
But we was pouring our bourbon and coke.
Okay. Now tell me about this Waterman. Did you get any more votes?
I didn't make it, fella. I didn't make it. They said I wasn't qualified.
They said you weren't qualified.
Yeah, they said when I talked to my buddy Cam Moy, and he looked at it, he said, "Well, Bama Nick," he said, "Well, Nick, you gotta. It's like anybody that writes in your name on a ticket, they have to meet qualifications for the same as the regular people, same as the people that are running for office. They have to be qualified as far as going to Atlanta, getting certified, and all that crap."
Okay. Well, I didn't
know people was going to write me in for that position.
Well, I want to demand a recount.
Well, hell, I was the only one running for the damn office. There wasn't nobody else on the ticket.
This is government. This is government corruption right here.
Government corruption during the Joe Biden years. Well, next year, when our great President Trump, maybe he'll change all that.
How'd your buddy Kerry do?
Well, I hate to say this, fella. He ran a good. I mean, he only lost by like 1,000-something votes. He did great. He did good.
Good.
He did. Yeah, he had over 46% of the votes.
Oh, wow.
He had 46.8% of the votes for the first time running. And he was, like I told you, fella, he's running against a Democratic incumbent that ain't never had nobody run against her in 12 years. So Kerry says, "Nick, I'm going to run against her just to make her spend money." And he did, because she spent a lot of money to win. Kerry Moore spent about $2,000 on his campaign. He was self-funded. He paid that money out of his pocket.
Okay. Well, that shows the power. That shows the power of getting an endorsement from Bama Nick. That's what that shows. I mean, that shows
right.
the endorsement from Bama Nick in that community. He carries a lot of weight. So next time we're gonna get him up. We're going
in the district that Gary was running in. I mean, he won 3 out of the 5 counties he was running in. And this
wow.
He took 3 of the counties. Of course, the other 2 counties he knew he wasn't going to take because they're all Democratic, highly Democratic, and I ain't going to say much other than that, but I'll talk to you off the air about all that. But
okay,
I don't want
all right.
to ruin my
Yeah. No.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't want you to do that either. So, Bama Nick,
can read between the lines.
All right, let's go to this LSU Alabama game. What are keys to victory for this game? What do you think? What are the keys to victory? I know we've been, up and down. It's been like a roller coaster, right?
Yeah, it has been, fella. And I don't know. It's got me worried, fella. All I know, like I told you before, all we got to do is win out, fella. Win out. You got to take one game at a time. You concentrate on LSU. But I saw the other day where Proctor got suspended. Is that true?
No. And you know what? That gives me a perfect opportunity. Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. I'm a little bit frustrated. Okay. There is so many fake accounts out here on Facebook, and people share stuff from these accounts, and they're all over the place. Okay. It was very simple last night to Kalen DeBoer. Okay. There was a graphic that was going around that him and his wife had announced that they're having another baby. I knew that was fake, but it wasn't none of my business to put that out that it was fake. Okay. I am so No, it was all over the place. It was all over the place on Facebook. It was some account that had shared it. Congratulations to Kalen and Nicole DeBoer for the birth or the upcoming birth of a child that she announced that she was pregnant.
I did see that, fella. Yeah,
and
I
it was
see that. Yeah.
And it was fake. And I mean, I'm talking about Alabama fans. I mean, I'm talking about thousands of Alabama fans who shared this. Congratulations. I mean, he might have even got baby gifts. I don't know. But last night on the coaches show, Pee Wee called up and congratulated him. And he goes, and coach said, well, I don't want to disappoint you, but it is not true. We're not having a baby. Okay. And I don't, which I knew it wasn't true.
Come on.
I knew it wasn't true. Okay. But it wasn't.
You should have called me and told me about all this.
Well,
information.
I was at liberty to talk on that. Okay. I wanted him to address it, not in a public spotlight. Okay. But it was false. But Alabama fans, you need to find, and I'm not saying you have to share my stuff. There's a lot of credible media members who cover the University of Alabama. I mean, I could go through the list, people that cover the University of Alabama and do it from an accurate position. Okay. Then choose to follow. I'm not saying that nobody has to follow my page, but I'd love for you to, right? Ryan Fowler, I share a lot of great content on my Facebook.
Follow your page,
I know you do. And I appreciate that.
Else.
Well, thank you.
Twitter,
but there's also, but there's a lot of other people that cover Alabama. They cover it from a standpoint of accuracy. There's also some folks out here that don't cover Alabama, but they pretend to cover Alabama. And you never see them in the press room. You never see them at practice. But they quote cover Alabama. I mean, that's what they say. So these Facebook accounts are they're fake news. It's kind of like CNN and news. Rachel.
Like CNN, MSDNC, and
So it's
idiot.
It's
NBC, all that.
Yeah, it's what it is. It's garbage, absolute garbage. So, but we add credibility to it because we share it all over the place. I mean, I saw that all over Facebook, people sharing this. I'm like, guys. Anyway, all right. So,
now what about?
No, Caden Proctor's not suspended.
What about Kalen? Yeah, because they said got into a disagreement with Coach D. You know, they got into
it's another one of those stupid fake news posts.
Okay, so
ignore it. Yeah, Caden Proctor will. Yeah, he's good. He's good to go.
Okay, good. That's what I want to let all my people that talk to me about it. You know, all these people in Georgia saying, "Well, we heard, you got it." I tell them all, roll tide. Don't worry about that crap.
Yeah, it's garbage. It's garbage.
Garbage.
So
garbage news. Garbage news. Anyway, fella.
Well, we have two injuries.
Go ahead.
We have two injuries.
On my call, but I'm letting you step on my call today, fella.
Well, I'm having to clean up the loose ends here. We have two injuries. Blue Spring Living Water injury report. Keon Sabb and Cole Adams.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's it.
Yeah, Cole Adams.
And we'll have
he's out for the year.
And there's a chance that Keon Sabb may be back. At some point. He had a broken bone, and we'll see. Bones heal faster than ligaments, and sometimes muscle tears and stuff like that. Keon Sabb, hopefully
put a gas on him, wrap it up, and get out there.
I mean, Coach Bryant did back in the 30s. Why not?
Hell yeah! I think who was it? Dick Butkus played with broken arm, broken leg. So.
Well, and Keon played. Yeah, Keon played with a broken foot against Tennessee because they pretty much had nobody else. I mean, they had to, and that's a tough young man, man. I'm proud of him, what he was able to do. All right, Bama Nick.
All right, now don't cut me off, fella.
Now I want to say something real quick.
I want my time because I listened to Texas Tony yesterday, and then Paul from Lincoln talked 20 minutes apiece.
Well, you've been on for.
I think I'm up there in the top 3 with them. So.
Oh no! You're not.
Get it right. Brett Gardner he's an F on the shelf.
Elf on the shelf, but I want to say this, okay? Your picks last week were not very good.
Nah, they suck.
Yeah, I mean, and
they suck. But I still got. I'm still in the running for the tiebreaker.
Yeah, well, you know what that gets you, don't you? It's the same thing Kamala gets.
I know,
an L. But did you help Bama Kathy out any? Because she didn't do very good either.
Her picks were worse than mine.
Yeah. Well, don't get in trouble now. But yeah, it's not good. So we're gonna get you back on track here today.
Well, I'm going to give my pick today, Ryan, but I want the opportunity to call in tomorrow and retract my pick, depending on
who
gets
injured and how
the point spread goes.
Right.
You know how that changes.
Let's just wait till tomorrow then. Let's just wait till tomorrow.
Well, that'll be fine. But I'll give you my early pick.
Okay, early picks, but I will not write these down. Okay, give me the early picks.
This is for all the other callers that want to go by my pick.
Yeah, they do.
Take
Everybody
the under in the Bama game. Take
the
under. In the game.
Okay.
Take South Carolina and take Ole Miss.
Okay, under South Carolina and Ole Miss. Okay. Everybody's on this Ole Miss train, man.
Well, Fowler, Georgia, they didn't look too sharp against Florida, in my opinion.
Okay.
I like Dart. I like Dart.
All right. What else is on your mind?
What else on my mind is what I told Jackson when I was talking to him. Dawson, my buddy Dawson that died.
Yes.
Last year. My good buddy Dawson, and Deanna, his daughter, she messaged me yesterday because me and her have become friends and stuff. She sent me yesterday a message to Bama Nick, can I use your Facebook page to post her what she wanted to get out with her business she's got, going on. I said, yeah, Deanna, that's fine. She sent me a post she wanted me to put on there. But I'm not savvy when it comes to these smartphones and how to do that and this and that. I told her, I'll do it, Dan, but I have to get my daughter over here, or Karen Moore, to do this for me. But she wanted me to more or less talk about her business is and what she's promoting, as far as natural wellness, health products and stuff. It will help a lot of people in her situation. Because, she went through a situation in her past, and that helped her, so she's into that. I said, I'll do what I can, Dan.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know a lot about it, to be honest with you. I'm sorry. I need to.
It's all natural. It's all natural wellness products. Natural drinks and the products stuff to get people in her condition off the meds, off the damn meds. I just figured I'd shoot that to you because I know you got listeners nationwide.
Well, why don't you promote what's your Facebook account? We'll go there looking for it.
Just look up Bama Nick. That's all you got to do on Facebook, Bama Nick. Hell, I don't think it's account numbers and all that crap.
Well, I think your last name is listed on your account.
Yeah, look up Nick Ellenberg.
There you go. I wanted you to say it, not me. I didn't know if you wanted to say your last name or not. I didn't know.
Well, you know my last name. Hell, everybody knows when I post up on Facebook, it shows up as Nick Ellenberg. I just hashtag Bama Nick when I do a comment.
All right. Well, Bama Nick, I got to run, man. I'm up against this break. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great rest of your day, man. Hey.
Thank the Ryan Fowler for letting me promote Deanna.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, go Trump.
Because me and Dawson were good friends that,
Yeah, y'all talked often. And Dawson was a great member of our program.
And he was the greatest caller, one of the greatest callers to your show. So I love Dawson. He was a good man.
63-3. Hey, Bama Nick, I got to run, man. I'm up against this break. Jackson's screaming in my ear. Thanks, man.
Buddy.
In Tuscaloosa, tied 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. I want to remind you about Big Mike's. If you're looking for a great steak, let me invite you to the great location here in Tuscaloosa. Well, it's actually not in Tuscaloosa. About 15 minutes from where we are located here on Skyline Boulevard. If you're looking for a great steak, those are great options. Great specials as always. But, hey, listen, you go there for the ribeye, right? I mean, the ribeye. And if you're brave enough, you can always go there for the Big Mike. But you got tips and rice, which is their special, which is the steak strips, brown gravy, peppers, onions, served on that bed of white rice, served with a house salad for $21. Great value. You got chicken parmesan. The fish of the week is mahi-mahi. It's Wednesday through Saturday, lunch and dinner options at Big Mike's. Go over and see those guys. About 15 minutes from where I'm located here in Tuscaloosa on Skyler Boulevard. Our headquarters at 142 Skyler Boulevard. But down in downtown Moundville, you got a location in Gunnersville, Andalusia, Orange Beach. And Auburn, you guys can be proud of something, man. Big Mike's Steakhouse over in Auburn, Alabama. Big Mike's, voted by the Alabama Cattlemen's Association as the best steak in the state of Alabama. Let's continue with more phone calls, and we go to Tommy. Tommy, Romulus. Tommy, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
All is well, Ron. How are you?
Good. Listen, I want to apologize to you. I forgot to call you back last night. It's my apologies.
That's fine. I mean,
but
you get busy, you forget, and you look at it and say, oh, my goodness, it's 10:45.
Well, it was about 11:30, and I realized I had not called you back, and I was when I answered, I was in the hot tub, and I don't know. I guess I got distracted, but yeah, I apologize, man. But I want an update, and a lot of people do, and so I'm probably going to ask you the questions that I did off the air. Give us an update on your brother, and how's he feeling?
He's home. We got him home Tuesday night. Before I took him home, I did a mean thing to him. I made him go vote, so it turned out all well. And let me tell you, Today's Thursday, 8 days ago, he looked like death warm over. I mean, he's walking around the house. He's fussing at me. He can't stand it. He can't pick up anything. And I said, don't you touch nothing. Call me. I'll get it. And his voice is getting stronger. He's still weak because, 18 days, he didn't hardly eat anything. He lost 14 pounds. I mean, he went on a starvation diet. He didn't have the appetite and all this. And I kind of had to throw a fit Wednesday night a week ago to get somebody to listen to me. I'm like, there's something else wrong with him besides freaking pneumonia. And he finally said, I feel a little tightness in my chest. I said, he ain't going home. And I guess I was rude, but I said, he's not going home. If I have to come back out here with him again, it's not going to be pleasant. I want something done for him now. And guess what? They got something done for him. He did have a heart attack, and he had the main artery in his heart was blocked 95%, and they call it the Widowmaker.
They do.
That Saturday, and let me tell you, Sunday night, in 36 hours, he was a whole different person. He was ready to go home. So.
Well, and see, my buddy over at Southern Ale House, Brad Morris, had a heart attack, and I hope I'm not revealing anything private, but it's most important for people that have an MI, myocardial infarction. If you have an MI, if you have chest pain, the biggest thing is to react. Okay, you did something, and you may or may not realize this, but you saved your brother's life.
Yeah,
because if that would have happened in Romulus, and he would have had a full-blown heart attack, I don't want to disappoint you, but there's a reason why they call it a Widowmaker.
Well, like last Wednesday, I ran errands for him. The other 3 days, I've been making him get up and go with me, and he was starting to eat a little bit better. And I came back about 2:15. He met me at the door. He don't meet me at the door. Okay, he's doing his own little thing. He said, Tommy, I think I'm going to die. I said, I'm calling Curtis. Curtis said, I'm bringing the kit over, and we had a retired nurse, and she's a volunteer. And checked up and said, he got to go to the hospital. And we called the ambulance. I mean, they made that decision in 8 to 12 minutes. And I'm like, I've been saying this for the last 2 days again. And I mean, I know the sign because my mother, one time, 100 years ago during the war, was a nurse. But she always fussed with her mother and my father was, look at the ankles for swelling for congestive heart failure. I got him a chair where I make him sit up in it about 30 minutes every 2 hours. I said, I want you to take 10 deep breaths. I want you to work your lungs. I want good posture. I'm a bitchy nurse. I'm sorry to say that.
Well, but what you did, and it's not, I'm not saying this, but for you, but there's a reason why so many people die from a myocardial infarction. It's simply because we don't react. We don't understand when there's something abnormal, and we go, come on. And I'm going to tell you something, Tommy, and I'm embarrassed to tell you this. I'm an EMT basic. In 2006, tomorrow will mark, my dad died in 2006. He called me the night before, and he goes, my chest is hurting. I think it's a cold. I said, Dad, are you sure? Are you sure? He said, yes, it's a cold. He died on November the 8th of 2006. Tomorrow will be an anniversary of his passing. But he called me on the night before, and I tried to pressure him. I said, you got to go to the emergency room. You got to go to the emergency room. He goes, no, it's just a cold. It's just a cold. It's a chest cold. It's a chest cold. And the next morning, I tried to call him, and nobody answered. And I had to ask the police department to break in where he was staying in San Antonio because he was working out of state. He's a union electrician, and he had passed away in the middle of the night. And it's just so important for people to respond to their body. Your body is not a liar. When you hurt, you got to react. You got to get a physician. And you did the right thing. And so many people don't. they choose to avoid it and don't listen. So Wyman, you can now encourage other people because, I know he works in the medical field. He's a volunteer fire department, but so many people are not willing to call. And then when it's too late and they can't do anything about it. So I just, like I said, it gives me a chance to spread awareness about heart attacks. And you know who dies more of heart attacks than anything? Women.
Yes.
Women.
Yeah. Well, he never complained not one time till Wednesday night. He finally said, I feel tightness. And like me and him always have had sinus problems. We have it this time of year in the spring. And it hasn't rained. He just says, my sinuses. And of course I had COVID beginning in October. And he thought, well, I caught it from me. And I'm like, I'm sitting there telling him, this is more than that. I'm telling him. I mean, if it wasn't for our volunteer fire department, I really think you got to get on Wyman's case.
Yeah.
He ain't going to listen to me. All right. Little brother. But I like the new road. Now, I'm the mean little brother. I'm in cherish the road. I'm the man.
But hey, you know what? There's a lot of people but it's all about care. And, and that's how it's good that he's got somebody in his life that can do that. But it's just raising awareness, these signs, these symptoms, and you can get on the Heart Association. You can do, the Mayo Clinic, look up these things to understand these little basic symptoms. And people that don't have issues, good for you. But heart attack is a killer, man. It killed a lot of people. And when Dwight sent me this, and I put it up on Facebook, and I think there's between the likes and the shares and the comments, about 200 comments, I guess. So, man, people love you guys. I'm glad to have the good news, and I got to get to this top of the hour break, Tommy. But you want to give your picks tomorrow?
Real quick. Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to take Tennessee.
Okay.
Georgia and Texas. And what was the tiebreaker? I forgot it.
Is Bama rushing yards? Bama rushing yards.
It'll be rainy. I'm going to say 192.
192. Hey, Tommy, thank you so much, man. And, hey, you never know who you might have helped by talking about it, man. Thank you again.
All right, man. Thank you for all y'all did. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I had a lot of people asking about Tommy, and I'm glad he gave
chest pains. You better get checked right away, because I'm a prime example of it by not getting myself checked back in 2011 when I ignored them and made excuses for the pains, and they didn't go away. And then I had the heart attack, the major MI, and had 5 bypasses. And then my brother, he passed away down, like you said, like Tommy. Brother could have been, if he would have been down in Ramos. He was down on Moore's Bridge Road on 171 and didn't make it. He had a widowmaker, and he died en route. Well,
yeah.
So,
well, it obviously, there's a reason, like I said, there's a lot of people, and it's not just males. Like I said, females die because many of them don't want to complain. They put it off. Yeah, right. I mean, and you have heart pain, you have chest pain. There's a lot of symptoms that go with it. Sometimes your jaw will hurt. Sometimes it radiates down, one side or the other. And usually you're nauseated, you're sweating, and the symptoms are there. But there's so many people that just ignore it. You just think, come on, it's okay. But you respond and get proper treatment. And like he said, 95% blockage. I mean, if you could just kind of imagine a pipe.
That's what mine was too. Yeah,
running through your body, and 95% of it's blocked.
It's a bad feeling. I can vouch for that. But anyway, on a brighter note, I never pulled for Georgia like I have before in my whole life, as I did Tuesday night. You know what I mean?
You were pulling for the dogs, huh?
You were pulling for the dogs like I never pulled, man. And, I couldn't believe it because they were so far behind. I mean, they were just like the whole Atlanta area had just overflowed with Democrats. And all of a sudden, the outer counties, I guess, came through for us, man. I even told my wife, I said, man, if these Georgia people just pull us through, I'll concede a national championship. And now I take it back. Now, I don't mean that, but no. But it was a great night. Roll MAGA, I have to say it. So
yeah, as you should. I mean, listen, seeing, I was looking at a friend of mine that posted, and the message was loud and clear. I mean, not just winning the Electoral College, but also winning the popular vote. It was wow. I mean, I'll say this: it made me believe more in our country, because I thought many times our country was going down the wrong road. And Dale, it seems like Tuesday night is a confirmation that we're not gone.
We had to have an enema. I think we got the enema that we needed. I mean,
well, and I do think about this too. Okay, if you would have looked, okay, and somebody posted this, sometimes, wishful thinking and, winning your guy. If Trump would have been reelected 4 years ago, he would have had a very small majority in the House. He would have not had the majority in the Senate, so it would have been Democratic. Now it looks like he's going to have power in both the legislative branches. The executive branch will obviously be his, and then the judicial branch is also a conservative-leaning court, and probably going to be able to, because of that, you're going to be able to put more conservative Supreme Court justices on the Supreme Court. So it ended up, it was a long 4 years, but it worked out that this country can get back on track, man, and get. I'm sorry?
You know what the House is now?
Well, currently, right now,
209 to 198, I think it just said.
Well, it actually just got bumped up. It's actually 210. There's 210 have been called, but they're leading in about 8 more of those races. So you can watch, and I don't know how some of these states, like Alabama, we are really good at counting votes. Okay, I mean, I know they make fun of us. Florida, Mississippi, a lot of these states are able to count votes very, very quickly. But if you look, the House is there's quite a few races right now, and so you've got a chance. They have 197. Right now it's 210, but there's a lot of other House seats that right now the conservative have, and man, you could really see them flip the script. And if you've got the majority there, you've got it in the Senate, you've got it in the judicial branch, you could really get some things done and really set this country up for success.
Right. So anyway,
but I mean, why are these states having so much trouble counting votes?
Well, if we wouldn't have had the poll watchers out, we would have went through the same ordeals we did in 2020. So thank God we did that. I guess the money from Elon Musk and all these people that's been backing them with the money, it paid off, I mean, sometimes you have to do what you got to do, and it paid off for them. So I'm glad they did what they did, just for our country, man. I mean,
yeah.
Anyway.
No, they did. They did. Yeah, it's like I said, it's pretty awesome when you see the numbers. But I'm looking at, I don't normally look at CNN's coverage, but CNN's got it 210 to 196. So, but there's a lot of pink out here. You've got a couple of districts out in Pennsylvania. You've got one in Iowa that's also pink, and I say, in other words, it's not light blue. It's you got one in Colorado. You've got 2 in Arizona. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 in California, and you've got a House seat in Alaska that should be called at any minute. It's about 74% with a big lead there. So if you could find a way to get the majority there, man.
That'd be nice.
I mean, Dale, you brought it up, but yeah, it'd be pretty. Well, you want to get your predictions in?
Yeah, quickly the predictions. I'm gonna go with, since Georgia pulled us through, I'm gonna have to go with Georgia. I don't know if they can, because Ole Miss is playing pretty dang good right now. But
all right, Georgia,
and I'm gonna go with Oklahoma. I just don't think Missouri is very good right now, to be honest with you. And I hate to say that. I was wanting to say that we might have beat a good team, but I just don't think they're that good. And I'm still concerned about us playing LSU. I'm concerned about Milroe making quick decisions and go ahead and take off running and not hesitate, stepping up in the pocket like I've always said. If he will make his mind up and play like he did against them last year. But I'm going to go with Alabama anyway. I'm going to go with Alabama on my third one. So,
okay. Give me Bama rushing yards. Where do you want to go? Alabama rushing yards. Georgia, Oklahoma, Alabama, Bama rushing.
Well, if we will stick with the running game and commit to it, I say we get 200 yards. But if we do like some of the past games and go away from it and drift away from it, then we're going to have a long day. But I'm going to go ahead and say 200 yards.
Okay. I'm going to write you down. Thank you, Dale. I appreciate you, man, as always.
Roll MAGA.
Hey, thank you. Roll Tide. Roll Tide. Thank you, Dale in Moundville. Let's go back through those spreads here. We're doing a little SEC parlay picks, and we'll do it again tomorrow. We'll take predictions there. I've got a few guests tomorrow. We're going to talk with Russ Mitchell. We haven't spoke to Russ in a long time. We'll talk to Brent Beard. And we'll also talk to Lee Sterling. So we're taking your predictions on an SEC parlay pick contest. It's Bama at LSU, Bama minus the 2.5, 58.5 is the game total. It is Florida at Texas, Texas minus 21.5, 47.5 is the total. Georgia at Ole Miss, Georgia minus the 2.5, 54.5 is the game total. South Carolina traveling to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is the underdog here. South Carolina minus the 4.5, 45.5. Mississippi State going to Tennessee. Tennessee minus the 24. And then we'll play that at 61.5. Oklahoma at the Missouri Tigers. Oklahoma minus the 3. 41.5 is the game total. Washington at Penn State. Penn State minus the 14. BYU at Utah. BYU minus the 3. We'll take your 3 picks.
A&M would have to lose to Texas.
Well, I don't even know if it would even matter with Texas and Texas A&M, right?
Yeah, because A&M's out of the top. They're out of the top 12. So I think Vanderbilt beating Tennessee, Georgia beating Tennessee, and Ole Miss beating Georgia would put Alabama back up top.
Yeah, because then it would go to the highest 2 ranked teams. Anyway, hey, if you look at the Football Power Index, I know people think, well, you're stupid for talking about those. Well, if you look at the Football Power Index and you look at projections as far as the analytical models, they still love Alabama. And Alabama currently is over 60% to make the playoffs. Let that sink in.
Yep.
And playing in the SEC title game, winning it, not playing in it, playing in it is just a 15.4%. So anyway, it's not mathematically impossible for Alabama to play.
No.
It is a big stretch.
It's not.
It's a big stretch, but it's not mathematically limited. I don't know for this team if it would not be the advantage of not playing in the SEC title game.
Well, I like Ole Miss in this game against Georgia, and the reason I like them is A, they're at home. B, Kiffin's been fired up because he's pissed because he didn't get the night game. So I think he's going to pull all the stops. And Ole Miss in this position is what you call a live dog. Okay, a live dog is an underdog, playing at home that has the ability to score a lot of points. They got a good offense. They got a good quarterback. They got receivers. They got running backs. They got their defense is playing well. They got a good offensive line. So they're a live dog here. They have a real legit shot to beat Georgia tomorrow or Saturday. Whether they do or not is another thing. But I like them as a live dog at home getting points. So,
all right, give me the third pick, Jared. I didn't realize you and I went so long. Pick number 3, Ole Miss.
Tide roll.
All right, Kalen DeBoer is 7-0 coming off the bye week. We'll see if he can make it 8. Bama rushing yards. Where do you want to go?
201.
201. I got it, Jared. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Vandy, Bama, and Ole Miss. Roll Tide and Roll MAGA.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you. We'll break here. We'll come back. We'll get to more phone calls. Marty in Arkansas.